Howdy, howdy, my fellow gamers, and welcome back to another episode of Storytime with Freak. I apologize for the 9-month delay. I didn't think this series would actually do well, that anybody would care about it, because there are a lot of books I want to read for you guys. But it is kind of a long process to read out loud, as opposed to reading in my mind, and then also going back in and recording it and editing it, any sniffles and sneezes, and putting like the rain track in the background. I've also been focusing a lot on work and relationships and my Twitch channel as well, so if any gaming fans are out there, please do check out my Twitch. The link will be down below. But without any further ado, I'm going to stop talking. We're on Chapter 6 with Thunderhead. Retribution. You may laugh when I tell you this, but I resent my own perfection. Humans learn from their mistakes. I cannot. I make no mistakes. When it comes to making decisions, I deal only in various shades of correct. That's not to say I don't have challenges. It was, for instance, quite the challenge to undo the damage done to the Earth by humanity in its adolescence, restoring the failing ozone layer, purging the abundance of greenhouse gases, depolluting the seas, coaxing back the rainforest, and rescuing a multitude of species from the edge of extinction. I was able to resolve these global issues in a single mortal age lifespan with acute single-mindedness. Since I am a cumulus of human knowledge, my success proves that humanity had the knowledge to do it. It simply required someone powerful enough to accomplish it, and I am nothing if not powerful. The Thunderhead. Chapter 6, Retribution. History had never been Rowan's best subject, but that changed during his apprenticeship. Until then, he could not connect anything in his life, or even in his possible future, that could be affected by a distant past, especially the strange events of the mortal past. But in his apprenticeship, historical figures focused on the concepts of duty, honor, and integrity throughout history. The philosophy and psychology of humankind's finest moments from its birth until present day. That, Rowan found fascinating. History was full of people who sacrificed themselves for the greater good. In a sense, scythes were that way, surrendering their own hopes and dreams to become servants to society, or at least the scythes who respected the scythedom stood for were that way. Rowan would have been that kind of scythe. Even after his brutal, scarring apprenticeship to Scythe Goddard, he would have remained noble. But he was denied the chance. Then he had come to realize that he could still serve the scythedom and humanity, but in a different way. His tally was now a solid baker's dozen. He had ended the lives of 13 scythes across multiple regions, all of whom were an embarrassment to what scythedom stood for. He researched the subjects extensively, just as Scythe Faraday had taught him to do, and chose without bias. This was important because his leaning would have been to look at the corruptions of the New Order scythes. They were the ones who openly embraced their excesses and the joy they took in killing. New Order scythes flaunted the abuse of their power as if it were a good thing, normalizing bad behavior. But they did not have a monopoly on bad behavior. There were some old guard scythes, and those who were unaligned, who had become self-serving hypocrites, speaking of high-mindedness yet hiding their dark deeds in shadows. Scythe Brahms was the first target to whom Rowan had given the warning. He had been feeling magnanimous that day, and had actually felt good to not end the man. That reminded him that he was not like Goddard and his followers, which made him worthy of facing Citra without shame. While others were preparing for the upcoming Thanksgiving holiday, Rowan researched several possible targets, spying on them and taking an accounting of their actions. Scythe Gary was big on the secret meetings, but they were usually about dinner parties and sports bets. Scythe Hendricks bragged about questionable deeds, but it was all talk. In reality, he was meek about his gleanings, and did it with appropriate compassion. Scythe Ride's gleanings appeared brutal and bloody, but her subjects always died quickly without suffering. Scythe Renoir, however, was a distinct possibility. When Rowan arrived at the apartment that afternoon, he knew there was someone inside before he even opened the door, because the doorknob was cold. He had rigged a cooling chip into the door that would be triggered when the knob was turned clockwise, as doorknobs generally turn. It was not cold enough to generate frost, but cool enough for him to know that someone had been there, and probably still was. He considered running, but Rowan was never one to run from a confrontation. He reached into his jacket and pulled out a knife. He always had a weapon with him, even when he wasn't wearing his black robe, because he never knew when he'd have to defend himself against agents of the scythedom. Cautiously, he went inside. His intruder was not hiding. Instead, he sat in plain sight at the kitchen table eating a sandwich. "Hey, Rowan," said Tiger Salazar. "Hope you don't mind, but I got hungry while I was waiting for you." Rowan closed the door and put his blade away before Tiger could see it. "What the hell are you doing here, Tiger? How did you even find me?" "Hey, give me some credit. I'm not entirely stupid." Don't forget I was the one who knew the guy who gave you your fake ID. I just had to ask the Thunderhead where I could find Ronald Daniels. Of course, there were tons of Ronald Daniels out there, so it took a while to find the right one. In the days before Rowan's apprenticeship, Tiger Salazar had been his best friend, but such designations meant little after one had spent a year learning how to kill. Rowan imagined it must be what mortal age soldiers felt when they returned from war. Old friendships seemed trapped behind a clouded curtain of experiences that old friends didn't share. The only thing he and Tiger had in common was a history that was getting more and more distant. Now Tiger was a professional partier. Rowan couldn't imagine a profession he could relate to less. I just wish you would have given me a heads up that you were coming, Rowan said. Were you followed? Which he realized ranked pretty high on the list of stupid questions. Not even Tiger would have been clueless enough to come up to Rowan's apartment if he knew he was being followed. Calm down, said Tiger. Nobody knows I'm here. Why do you always think the world is out to get you? I mean, why would the Scytheden be after you just because you flunked out of your apprenticeship? Rowan didn't answer him. Instead, he went over to the closet door, which was slightly ajar, and closed it, hoping that Tiger hadn't looked inside to see the black robe of Scythe Lucifer. Not that he would understand what he was seeing. The general public didn't know about Scythe Lucifer. The Scytheden was very good at keeping his actions out of the news. The less Tiger knew, the better. So Rowan invoked the age-old ender of all such conversation. If you're really my friend, you won't ask questions. Yeah, big mystery man. He held up the remaining bit of his sandwich. Well, at least you still eat human food. What do you want, Tiger? Why are you here? Is that any way to talk to a friend? I come all this way. At least you could have asked me how I've been. So how have you been? Pretty good, actually. I just got a new job in a different region, so I came here to say goodbye. You mean some sort of permanent party job? Not sure, but it pays much better than the party agency I was working for, and I finally get to see the world a little bit. The job's in Texas. Texas? Rowan got a little worried. Tiger, they do things differently there. Everybody says don't mess with Texas. Why do you want to mess with it? So it's a charter region. Big deal. Just because charter regions are unpredictable doesn't mean they're bad. You know me, my middle name is unpredictable. Rowan had to stifle a laugh. Tiger's one of the most predictable people he knew. The way he became a splatting junkie, the way he ran off to become a professional partier. Tiger might have thought himself as a free spirit, but he wasn't at all. He was just defying the dimensions of his own cage. Well, just be careful, Rowan said, knowing Tiger wouldn't be. But he also knew that he'd land on his feet whatever he did. Was I ever as carefree as Tiger? Rowan wondered. No, he wasn't. But he did envy that about Tiger. Maybe that's why they were friends. The moment became a little awkward. But there was more to it than that. Tiger stood, but didn't make any move to leave. There was something else he had to say. I have some news, he said. It's actually the real reason why I'm here. What kind of news? Still, Tiger hesitated. Rowan braced, knowing it was going to be bad. I'm sorry to tell you this, Rowan, but your dad was gleaned. Rowan felt the earth shift slightly beneath him. Gravity seemed to pull him into an unexpected direction. It wasn't enough to make him lose his balance, but it left him queasy. Rowan, did you hear what I said? I heard you, Rowan said. So many thoughts and feelings shot through him, short-circulating one another until he didn't know what to think or feel. He never expected to see either of his parents again. But to know that he couldn't see his father, to know that he was gone forever, not just dead-ish, but dead. He had seen many people gleaned. He had ended 13 people himself, but never had Rowan lost someone so close to him. I can't come to the funeral, Rowan realized. The Scytheden will have agents there looking for me. If there were any, I didn't see them. The funeral was last week, Tiger said. That hit just as hard as the news. Tiger offered an apologetic shrug. Like I said, there were tons of Ronald Danielses. It took a while to find you. So his father had been dead for more than a week, and if Tiger hadn't come to tell him, he would have never known. Then the truth slowly dawned on Rowan. This was no random event. This was punishment. This was retribution for the acts of Scythe Lucifer. Who was the Scythe who gleaned him, Rowan asked. I have to know who did it. Don't know. He wore the rest of your family to silence. Scythes do that sometimes. You know that better than anyone. But he gave the others immunity? Of course, Tiger said. Your mother, brother, and sister, just like Scythes are supposed to do. Rowan paced away, feeling like he wanted to hit Tiger for completely oblivious he was, but knowing that none of this was Tiger's fault. He was just the messenger. The rest of his family had immunity, but that would only last for a year. Whoever gleaned his father could pick off his mother, then each of his siblings, once a year, until his entire family was gone. This was the price of being Scythe Lucifer. It's my fault! They did this because of me. Rowan, are you even listening to yourself? Not everything is about you. Whatever you did to piss off the Scytheden, they're not going to come after your family because of it. Scythes aren't like that. They don't hold grudges. They're enlightened. What point was there in arguing this? Tiger would never understand, and probably never should. He could live for thousands of years, as happy as a party boy without ever having to know how petty, how vindictive, how human Scythes could be. Rowan knew he couldn't stay here. Even if Tiger hadn't been followed, the Scytheden would eventually track where Tiger had been. For all Rowan knew, there was a team on his way to take Rowan down. He and Tiger said their goodbyes, and Rowan got his old friend out the door as quickly as he could. Then a moment after Tiger was gone, Rowan left as well, taking nothing but a black pack stuffed with weapons and his black robe. Thank you all for tuning in. We will get to Chapter 7 in the next episode. Feel free to check out the links below, and I promise I'm not going to take 9 months to put out Episode 7. You guys have a great day and stay freaky.